Well, there's been plenty of developments in the fight against COVID-19 south of the border. So let's bring in Global's Washington Bureau Chief Jackson Proskow, who joins us now with more and provide some context. Jackson, good morning. And we want to start with President Trump, who we learned late yesterday has cut off all funding from the U.S. to the World Health Organization. Just how much money is that? And I guess, as the president, has he told us all why he's doing this in the middle of a global pandemic?
Hey, good morning, Jeff. We're talking about just under $500 million that the U.S. gives to the WHO that the president is suspending, at least temporarily, while they do sort of a review here of the organization. This really comes down to a political question for President Trump. He blames the WHO for not informing the U.S. about the spread of COVID-19 from China, and he's gone on beyond that to essentially say that what they did was to spread Chinese misinformation. But those are kind of baseless accusations at this point. In fact, U.S. intelligence had issued its own warnings to the White House about COVID-19 and its potential spread several months before the U.S. response kicked in. But Trump is now trying to blame the WHO. And Jeff, if you're looking for a reason why, if you're looking for an answer to that question, well, it comes down to the fact that Trump's own approval ratings for the handling of the crisis in this country have started to tank. So he's looking for somebody to blame. And right now, the WHO seems to be the sort of most convenient target for him.
All right. Now, Jackson, even though the U.S. has seen a high rate of death and infection, speaking of Trump is still pushing the country to reopen. Is that possible? And what could that look like?
Yeah, Carolyn, it really seems in stark contrast, right, to what you're hearing from officials in Canada who've essentially paused everything until, June at this point. Not here in the U.S., though, where the president is talking about how quickly can he restart the economy, get people back to work, back to businesses, and that's something he's really pushing. But he's running up against state and local officials who say, you can't do that yet. We're still in the middle of this pandemic and this outbreak. And New York City is one example where they're still seeing, hundreds and hundreds of fatalities every single day. They've had more than 10,000 deaths in New York State alone at this point. It's impossible to see how life could possibly return to any sort of daily normal in a place like New York. So what you're seeing now is this sort of back and forth push between the White House and the governors over who's really got the authority to order the country to restart and reopen. I think it's important to point out that the White House never ordered the country to shut down in the first place. That was an action undertaken by state and local officials themselves. So what you're seeing now is a bunch of different states sort of grouping together by geography. California and the West Coast states are working together. New York and states in the Northeast are working together to kind of come up with reopening timelines that work for them. California's governor yesterday gave us a great sense of how this could unfold when things return to normal. First of all, he says it's a long ways off. It's not happening anytime soon. And he says it's not going to be like flicking a switch. It's going to be more like turning on a dimmer switch. It's going to be very slow and very methodical. And one great example they gave was how restaurants could return to normal. They say there will likely be half as many seats and tables inside those restaurants. The servers will likely serve you in masks and gloves. You'll have to have your temperature taken just to walk through the door. And even then, you'll be given a disposable menu, really just to make sure there's no way to transmit this virus.
Yeah, just finally, Jackson, do we know who's got the ultimate word on when it's back to business there? The president said that he was the ultimate authority yesterday, but then seems to have backed off that a bit. I know several governors, including New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, said, no, wait a minute, it's us, the governors of each individual state, that will determine that.
Yeah, it's the governors who are right here. They do have the ultimate authority here. And the president sort of walked back his comments yesterday saying that he would authorize the governors to use their authority. In other words, he's basically saying, yeah, go ahead and do what you're allowed to do. That's what it comes down to. The governors will make this decision since they're the ones who made the decision to shut things down in the first place, and since they have a line on what's happening in their communities.
All right, Jackson Proskow in Washington. Jackson, great to see you as always. Thanks for coming on. And if you've got any questions at all regarding COVID-19, you, of course, can email them to us, your questions at globalnews.ca. And you can also visit globalnews.ca/coronavirus for the latest information.